Hello, I'm Bill Brooks, and like you, I'm wild about Washington. The recent record rain caused a lot of damage to our state's fish hatcheries. The loss would have been even greater if not for the people who worked at those hatcheries. Staying on the job around the clock, the loss of the next crop of salmon was avoided.
In the incubation room, the eggs and fry are incubated similar to like a dresser drawer that has water run in the top, runs through the eggs and fry, drops down and drops in the next tray, and so on. As the water came up, those trays had to be, the ones that were going to be submerged had to be moved further up in the incubation stacks to keep water to them. So the bottom 3 trays, I believe, ended up having to be moved up in the incubators to keep them alive. Fry in the incubation room, if they are without water for 10 minutes, they're dead. So it's very important. It took a lot of work for the hatchery staff to get in here and keep those fry alive in the building, and the eggs. The eggs that were in there are coho eggs, and right now they're in a tender stage, so that's even, there would probably be some heavier than normal loss in those due to having to move those during a tender stage. But the hatchery staff did a great job of keeping water flow, keeping the fish in their containers, and doing their best to try to keep the fish in these rearing ponds from exiting the pond when the ponds were topped. Fortunately, our construction maintenance crew for the agency has been dealing with emergencies and problems like this in the past. They know what is needed to get the problems fixed. We have pumps, generators, equipment that we can move in on a minute's notice, second hour notice, and get crews to respond. We got real lucky and dodged a bullet at a lot of facilities, but unfortunately Voight's Creek isn't one of those facilities where we dodged a bullet. We took it head on here.
Washington has so many public access sites, we can't take care of all of them without the Adopt and Access Site program. One of our resource management partners recently adopted a site which is being turned into a much appreciated and improved asset for the local community.
Well, we don't have the resources to do a project of this size without volunteer help. So their proposal, the Stillaguamish Tribe's proposal, was to come in and revegetate along the river for habitat restoration project. In addition to adopting the site, so that's a commitment, a monthly commitment to come in once a month with a work party, clean the site, pick up litter. It's a long-term commitment that they've followed through on. The benefit is to create better fish habitat along the riverbank. It'll provide shade for salmon.
This area here is in our homeland. We had a village site not too far from here, and you know, we've done a lot of stewardship work up and down the river since our tribe uses this boat launch for launching our boats to go out and do water quality and estuary samples out there. I thought it would be a good idea to do, but the continuing relationship that we're building with Department of Fish and Wildlife in the past few years. We've got a good relationship with their enforcement officers, their biologists, the state rep or the policy people in Department of Fish and Wildlife. So we thought this would be a good effort to get together with the state and do a project together. And when we got down here, started talking about what we could do, that's when I thought about going farther than what the project calls for, and really taking ownership into it, and bringing our Bank Savers project down and our crews, and really making this a nice place. I think once we get going here, we get the facility a lot more built up, get the blackberries out of here, get the nice looking native vegetation in here. I'm hoping that we'll get some of the fly fishermen and the fishermen that come down here to join up with us and also partner in this, take care of it, take ownership into an area that they use and you know, take better care of the environment.
You know, we're sitting right next to the river, and the ultimate goal, I guess, is to, you know, increase the or improve the salmon habitat.
Anytime we have an opportunity to restore native vegetation to an area that's been covered with blackberries or other invasives is a good opportunity for fish and wildlife.
On a recent windy day in central Washington, history was made with an agreement to help recover endangered pygmy rabbits. This lays the groundwork of what is called safe harbor policies, so landowners near state-owned habitat will be more comfortable with the reestablishment of threatened and endangered species.
We're out here in Douglas County at the Mare Farm, and off to the northeast here is Sagebrush Flats, and that's where we're going to be reintroducing pygmy rabbits on Sagebrush Flats, Department of Fish and Wildlife area. In the agreement we signed here today is the Pygmy Rabbit Safe Harbor Agreement, and it was between the two agencies, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Department of Fish and Wildlife. But it gives an opportunity for local landowners like the mayors to sign up on a safe harbor agreement, which will give them basically a liability policy protection against any liability for harming a pygmy rabbit during the course of their normal operations. The agriculture out here in both Douglas and Grant, or the north part of Grant County and Douglas County, is a combination of dryland agriculture and ranching. We're going to be releasing these rabbits out on our Sagebrush Flats wildlife area, which is out here to the northeast. That's where the last remaining wild pygmy rabbit was taken several years back. Since that time, we've been rearing those rabbits at Washington State University, the Northwest Trek, and an Oregon State Zoo.
I think the biggest thing about this whole process is that no one agency can do it by themselves. The landowners can't do it by themselves. It's going to be a cooperative effort, and there's just no other way that we can succeed.
Bird watchers have now gained preservation of a long favorite birding location near Spokane. This called for a public dedication and thanks to the Washington citizens who made it happen.
Hi, I'm Howard Ferguson with Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I'm a district biologist for Spokane, Lincoln, and Whitman County. I'm happy to say I'm here today at Reardon Audubon Lakes for the dedication of the purchase of this piece of land by the IAC and eventually with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. And this is actually 277 acres of both lake and upland, which has over 200 species of birds on it. And it's important critical habitat for waterfowl and shorebirds, especially in migration period in the fall. And today, through the help of many, many people, including many Audubon groups across the state, we're able to preserve this piece of land for our next generations. Even though this piece of land seems to be isolated, I think you have to look at the use. Fish and Wildlife attempts to try to connect land so that we have corridors for wildlife with core areas and linkages as far as affording travel and cover and protection to them. Well, this particular piece is out in the middle of what initially I thought looked like an island. And it turns out that that's how the resource is used. These waterfowl, these shorebirds, use this during migration as a stopover spot to actually fuel up for the rest of their migration period. And the other unusual thing about it is, of course, that we're in the arid eastern Washington, where we have 15 to 17 inches of rain. And especially during years of drought, most of the water around can dry up. Whereas here at Reardon Audubon Lakes, it stays with water pretty much year-round and has for years, affording that water for the migrating waterfowl. The purchase of this land could not have been done without the collaborative effort of many groups. And I'm talking about there's the local Audubon. Well, in order to get the options of the $50,000, they had to go to most of the other state most of the other state Audubon groups to come up with that 50,000, and they responded. We had people from Vancouver, from Seattle, from Bellingham donating that money.
It's the gift giving season, and if you have a wildlife watcher on your gift list, here are some suggestions.
And I'm Bill Tweit. I'm an avid bird watcher, and here's some of the things that I'd like to see in my holiday stocking. One thing I can never have enough of is good bird watching clothes. And here's a couple of the latest additions to my wardrobe that somebody else might want to be thinking about for one of their friends. Good rain pants in the Northwest, these are a must. Equally important are the mittens that turn into gloves. And the reason that it's important that they turn into gloves is trying to manipulate cameras, cell phones, telescopes with mittens is hard, but the mittens keep your fingers warm. But you quickly go to gloves and get that shot with the camera or get the binoculars finally focused, and then back to mittens again for comfort. Some days, though, are a little too cold or a little too rainy or a little too dark to actually be outdoors, and that's when I'm an armchair birder. So a good new book about birding is always fun. Here's one of my favorite ones that I got this last year is The Singing Life of Birds. Comes actually with a CD too, so that you can sort of listen along, by a noted scientist who's writing about his discoveries about birdsong over the years. And here's also a recent one about a father-son relationship. The father was an avid world birder, and the son's writing about his memory of those times, both being left behind at times and when he could go with his dad, and the complexities of relationships. And then there's some days when you just want to bird watch from inside, and those are the times when it's really good to have bird feeders, a bird bath going in your backyard so the birds are coming to you and you can stay inside. The new recycled plastic bird feeders are just phenomenal. They really hold up well, much better than the wood ones do, don't require cleaning as often. Even when it's pouring rain, birds still like to bathe. And so making sure your bird bath stays ice-free through the winter is really important, so getting something like a heater is a great thing. Also remember that in some areas hummingbirds stick around for the winter, and so it's good to have a hummingbird feeder up, but make sure that sugar water stays clean and fresh in it. Probably my favorite gift, though, as a birder is whenever I can get the gift of time. The time to go out birding, especially if it's time when I can go out with others. For a beginning level birder, the best way to give a gift of time is to call up a local Audubon society or a local community college and arrange for an opportunity to go out on a beginning birdwatching tour or join a beginning birdwatching class. And then don't forget to give a holiday gift for the birds as well. The bird feeders I've talked about, the bird baths I've talked about certainly are one kind of holiday gift that are just great. But another is a basic conservation tool that can help both birders and birds, actually, and that's participating in a Christmas bird count or participating in the Great Backyard Bird Count. Christmas bird count's held in December, Great Backyard Bird Count is held in February, and in either case what you're giving to the birds is you're giving some increased scientific knowledge that helps provide the basis for future conservation efforts for those birds. Plus you're having a lot of fun out birding in the winter.
This has been Wild About Washington, brought to you by the employees of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. Working together, we can keep Washington's outdoor heritage for future generations. Thank you for watching, and have a happy holiday season.